Right, it's getting kind of weird now with Raheem Sterling. I need to remind you guys that Raheem Sterling is 30 years old. He's been talked to and talked about as if he's 34 and he's lost every single part of his game. What's going on with Raheem Sterling? Ever since what feels like the Euro 2020, or technically Euro 2021 competition, ever since that tournament when he was, one of the best players in the entire tournament, it's been going downhill ever since. Raheem Sterling joined Chelsea back in 2022 and he was seen as Chelsea's marquee signing from Manchester City for around £40 million. 2 years there, became a bit of a meme, and then became actually quite good again, and it became a meme again, and it became just completely forgotten. Last year, of course, he went to Arsenal on loan, and he was kind of a bit part bench player, and despite 17 appearances in Premier League, the vast majority being off the bench, scoring 0 goals. The only goal he scored in this entire season last year, only 1 goal, was in the EFL Cup against Bolton Wanderers. With about 1,000 minutes played across an entire season, you could say that Sterling's time at Arsenal could have gone better. There was times that Arteta almost refused to play him when he had the ability to. When Arsenal chasing the game, he basically never subbed on Sterling till the very last second. So why is this being talked a lot more now, and why is this worth talking about? Well, Sterling, of course, is still at Chelsea. He's not been in any training session. He's not even in the squad photos. He's literally nowhere to be seen. From his social media, he's posting on his Instagram stories saying that he's at the training ground at 8:20 at night. From what we gather from what happened during the Manchester United bomb squad with Rashford, Garnacho and Anthony and the rest, that they started their training session when the main group has left, and it looks like this is now happening with Raheem Sterling now, and also a few other players such as Axel Disasi, who is also at Chelsea, doesn't have a club, and he's now seen the next few months with no football. This now involves, of course, the PFA getting involved and saying that they believe that Raheem Sterling and also Axel Disasi's treatment has been unfair. Journalists as well in interviews going to Maresca speaking about, what do you think of the treatment about Sterling? Do you think it's unfair? Maresca comes back basically laughing at them, saying that my father was a fisherman for 50 years and his life was hard, not theirs. So he couldn't really care less about them, basically. Which, I mean, to one point, I get it. Sterling and Disasi is still being paid, no matter what, even if they're playing or not. So why should we care about them just kind of not being cared about at a football club? Because, hey, they still get paid. But there's just something off about this entire situation. The Saudi Pro League window ended yesterday. I believe on the 24th of September. Everyone thought, okay, he must be going to Saudi Arabia then, because that just seems to make sense. He's not. He's still there at Chelsea now. This means that both him and Disasi, for example, is looking like they're going to be seeing at least 3 months of training away from the first team and with no first team football. And to show a sign of how far away he actually is from being part of the first team squad and even being part of the club is when the official squad photograph for the season was took the other day. Man, he's not even in it. Neither is Disasi, by the way. So if you're a Chelsea fan or you're just a person, then comment down below kind of how do you see this treatment of Raheem Sterling? Is it justified? Because if you are a player that's maybe been out of favour and you're not really in the plant or the manager, surely you would just leave. Well, we have got a bit more information about that. Comment down below your thoughts on Raheem Sterling. Do you think he's still a good footballer? I mean, he's only 30 years old. I just feel like people are behaving and acting as if like he's like gone completely past it and he's 35 or something. Like, comment, and subscribe, and Mazzola Designs for the best football prints all made by myself. Use code Vizeh for 15% of all items. Anyway, let's crack on. So some news came out 1 hour ago from The Athletic, which I think is really fascinating because there's been a lot of talk about Raheem Sterling, about him staying at Chelsea and why did no one want him and why is he stayed at Chelsea. Well, it's coming out that indeed Bayern Munich made a late attempt to sign and convince Raheem Sterling to join Bayern Munich. This may sound really odd why this didn't come to fruition if they were interested, because why would Sterling not go to Bayern Munich, who was almost guaranteed to win trophies? And it appears that Sterling was reluctant to go to Bayern Munich. The reasons why appeared to be the fact that he was reluctant to move his family to Germany or to be away from them for what could be for 9 months, especially with any little guarantee of featuring regularly. Now, to hear me out here, I can kind of get the idea that maybe he would want to move his entire family away if they were settled in London. I don't think going there for 9 months to go into Germany is a bad idea, especially as you got Vincent Kompany there that knows you very well from time at City. And keep in mind, this isn't the only team that Sterling has said no to apparently. Apparently in the summer, 5 clubs reached out to Chelsea with their interest for him. Those 5 clubs were Bayer Leverkusen, Juventus, Fulham, Crystal Palace and West Ham. Now part of me is thinking that potentially Sterling would like to stay in London. Well, West Ham, Palace and Fulham are exactly those teams. Sterling may think that in his mind that he's still good enough to play at a top level and to play in the top 6 European football bubble, but if you look at his stats in the last 2-3 years, he hasn't been. Arsenal had pretty much an injury crisis in attack many times last season and he still wasn't a regular of starting. I believe in the league he started about 3, maybe 4 games. So should we feel sorry for Raheem Sterling? Because if the offers have been there, some away to big clubs like Bayern Munich or Juventus, or even clubs in London in the Premier League that he could be actually a big part for, I can imagine Sterling at West Ham could be incredibly important for them right now. Could also have a very good impact at also a Palace, now with Vizeh gone, or a Fulham. He could actually be a big player, an important player for a club to feel loved again. He can have that. It seems like he didn't want to have that. And I think one reason is this, and I think we all know what. He's being paid £300,000 a week at Chelsea. He was made, back in 2022, the highest paid player at the club. Not long ago, he was seen as one of the biggest names in English football, of course, reached a final in Euro 2022, was probably seen as England's best player in that competition. I think it's fair to imagine that Sterling simply doesn't want to leave Chelsea if he's got that much money on the table. And with Sterling's contract expiring in 2027, he's still got 2 more years of earning a bag full of money. And you don't want to imagine that a footballer is picking money ahead of actually playing football. It's almost like he's trying to force Chelsea to buy him out of his contract so that he's finally off the books. He's earning a lot of money there and that's playing an impact on their financial balances. Sterling is still training, he's still with his own personal team and he's still, doing what he can each day, it seems, behind the scenes to keep himself fit, potentially for a January window to come in. But at the same time, if he's had the opportunity to leave to several clubs, some that suits what he desires to stay in London, and he's not gone, then I don't really know what really we want more. I would imagine the only team that I could see him going to is probably Spurs, but that's because he's played for every single top 6 club other than United or Spurs, so it'd be kind of funny to finish it off. You could potentially loan Sterling, however, because of how much his wages are, even if Chelsea pays a portion of that, even half, that's still £150,000 a week. It's still a lot. That's why a loan is much harder for him. Apparently Sterling did not want something similar of last year to happen, where he went to Arsenal, organised in the final 48 hours of deadline window, and yet didn't really get involved too much, didn't have enough time to really speak to Arteta about what he was going to be doing, how was he going to be involved. Saying that his form wasn't great, 1 goal in what appears to be 20 appearances, despite most of them being off the bench. Despite that, he's still not great. So what's going to happen now? By the time it's a January window, Sterling likely is not going to play a single competitive minute for about 9 months. It's going to make it kind of hard to let him go somewhere. And Sterling is thinking, I've got £30 million that's still due to be paid to me. Why would I leave? Yes, you may already be a millionaire, but 30 million quid is still 30 million quid. And that is guaranteed to be paid to him. Chelsea still believes they can get some value out of him in terms of a valuation of a fee, so they can try to use that. So this is just one big game of cat and mouse right now. Which side are you on right now? Are you on Chelsea's side or are you on Sterling's side? You may have the idea that Chelsea have tried all they can to get a club that is appealing for him, one that's in London or one that's a big club overseas that will win trophies for a good opportunity, and Sterling said no to all of them. But Sterling will say that, look, you give me this contract, I want to stay on it. Still think Sterling can still offer something though. I still think for his experience to be part of the group, I just think removing him completely is not a great choice for Maresca. When you got young players like Garnacho, like Gittins curling the squad, Tyreek George as well, I can't really see the harm in having Sterling in that group and to help support them as well. I just don't think he's being treated in the right way in that regard. And better way, there's still Disasi as well behind the scenes. I know Disasi having a very similar situation. He's brought in, seen as a pretty important player for the club, and has now basically been frozen out. And no one seems to want him. He's on relatively decent wages, but not massive wages. It's all down to Maresca picking his 25-man squads, and they unfortunately didn't fit in it. So yeah, this is the situation at Chelsea with Sterling and Disasi. Comment down below, where do you stand by it? Who's in the wrong, if any? And I'll see you boys next time for another video. See ya.